Friday stream. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So if you're watching, if you joined just now, let us know where you're watching from. I'm going to check out the sound like always, just to make sure we're good on sound. And today we're going to talk about some um, updates like usual. And we're going to talk about, ooh, good. Sound's working. Sound's going. Uh, Indie game publishers. So I'm not an indie game publisher, but I carry a lot of indie games as a store owner. Whoops, knocked the TikTok camera. So hopefully I can talk to why we carry some indie games and the story behind some of the publishers and how we came to know them. Try my best to recall everything. And well, that'll be our topic for Friday. So I'm gonna turn this camera here. Just we still are working on a more permanent streaming setup in the store, so we're still finagling things. We got a lot, a lot going on in my space right now, because it's at the cash register where we have a lot of other stuff going on. So, got to be careful. I have my coffee over here, so I can't. Got to make sure I don't spill it as well. Um, but every Friday we go live. We talk about a specific topic for the week, usually just chosen by me. But if anybody has suggestions on a topic you'd like me to cover, I'm happy to talk about anything related to tabletop games or running a game store. Hi, Kensington. Thank you for joining. Hi, Azure. Thank you for joining on TikTok here. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, let me know where you're watching from. I can read the comments over here. I got to glance over to our screen on the computer if you leave a comment on one of those. But if you're on TikTok, you can leave a comment um, if you have questions too. Again, Fridays, we talk about a specific topic. I share some updates about our store and what's going on in our store. And then the specific topic we'll talk about today is indie game publishers. So, our store is BGE's Tabletop. BGE's, if you're not familiar, comes from our podcast that we started 4 years ago called Board Gaming with Education. So we have a very family focused aspect of tabletop gaming, and we're really honing in on those positive aspects of the tabletop gaming hobby. So we offer a lot of stuff for families as well as hobby gamers. So we're kind of trying to bridge that gap as well. Um, so we do some different events every week. We do D&D. These is kind of just updates for the store. D&D on Thursdays. We do our Pokemon on Sundays, and we have our board game days on Saturdays. Really excited in June. We're going to try out some different events 3 Fridays out of the 4 every month. So if you have suggestions, if you're in the area, in the community, let us know what kind of games you'd like us to try out. I know I want to try My Hero Academia, the card game. I'm looking over there because we have some up there. We're getting the new set in soon, which is kind of based off. If you've seen the show, it's based off of apparently season 2. I haven't seen season 2, so I've only seen season 1. Um, but a really good show too. I recommend checking out My Hero Academia as a show. But we want to try some other games every 3 Fridays out of the month in June, and we'll do that moving forward. So every month, 3 Fridays, we'll have a different event. We'll probably do a family game day in June too, because school's out, and we can have a fun family game day for summertime. Um, so those are mainly updates, and then just sharing some games and some products we've received recently and or plan to be receiving. So we just got the new Pokemon set. I always try to put a new product behind me on these streams. Um, Astral Radiance is the new Pokemon set. We also got a bunch of Magic the Gathering. No, well, not a bunch compared to other stores because a lot of other stores have a lot of Magic the Gathering, but we got a bunch for us. We essentially filled out our product line. We have almost every set in the last like couple years now, so pretty excited to have that available for customers. We're also expecting some Dragon Shield sleeves. Those are coming in soon. That's a product line we have not carried before. Yeah, we never carried it online, and now we'll have those in stock. But those are updates for our store. If you have questions for me, leave a comment. Again, if you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, let us know where you're watching from. Welcome on TikTok. We got Brant. Thank you for joining. Um, I want to kind of play around with this TikTok for a second. All right, cool. Right. So we're gonna talk about indie game publishers. So as a store owner, we carry indie games. As far as categorizing a publisher as an indie publisher, that is, I guess, up to the publisher to decide, and or maybe there's a strict classification, but I'm not familiar with the strict classification. Um, I'm just more talking about, I guess, smaller publishers in um, the whole publishing board game publishing hobby. So these are publishers that maybe only have a handful of games published, or maybe just one or two. Maybe it's like the first time publishers. We carry a couple first time publishers, which is really cool. Um, and I want to talk about kind of the some of the games. I have like probably like 15 games here that I want to just briefly talk about, and why we carry those specific games, but why we carry indie games in general. So there's a couple different reasons, and this is a pretty one. The first reason is a kind of common thing among other game store owners that I've talked to at Gamma, or some of them, I suppose, and that's having the uniqueness of offering different board games that you could not get at other game stores, even, or especially like big box stores like Target or Walmart. So you can come into our store, you'll find some really unique games that you won't find at Target or Walmart for sure. And then it's pretty unlikely you'll find some of these games. Actually, I'm like almost 100% certain you will not find some of these games in the LA area. Um, at least a handful of them. Some you might be able to find in the LA area. Well, I'm pretty sure, but I can't. I guess I can't be 100% certain. Actually, yes, there's a couple. There are a couple. I'm 100% certain that we are the only company or only store in the U.S. that maybe carries them. Um, but those are very unique to those publishers. Hi, bored at home. Thanks for joining. Hopefully, you're not bored at home watching this TikTok. Wonder if you've received that joke before. All right. So that's the first reason. It's like a unique offering of products and games for customers. Another reason I like to stock indie games is because I like to support those publishers, and so I have to be careful though, because I do love to support the publishers, but I also have to think from a business perspective, and I cannot support every publisher, because then if those games don't sell, we are no longer in operation. We're no longer a business. So we have to be careful about how often we do that, especially how often we do it for games that cost a lot as an MSRP too. So the MSRP is how much we can sell, how much is suggested we sell them for. Um, so for example, if we have a game that is, well, I'll talk about this one. So, uh, Brad came in yesterday. He was in the LA area. He's actually from Atlanta, I believe, and he published this game not too long ago. And he pitched the game to me, and I like the idea. I like the appeal. I really think it would make for a fun party game. It's a kind of a challenge party game slash icebreaker party game. You do some goofy things in the game. There's a bit of strategy involved in it, but not too much. That makes it complicated, but still kind of integrated enough to make it fun. I have not played it, but that's kind of the uh, the perspective I get from it, and from having played games similar to it. So this game is $15 for us. We usually pay, depending on the publisher and the deals, we pay anywhere between 40 to 50%, and that could include the cost of the shipping. So sometimes shipping is or is not included. So and that's pretty common among game stores. You can look up, there's a lot of blogs online. You can look up this information on how pricing of games works in the hobby and why it works that way. at least in this um, in how the hobby is set up today. Of course, there are outliers, and of course, there are publishers who do things differently, but that's the general thing. Um, so for me, if I get, which I think I got I got 6 copies. So for me, 6 copies is going to cost 40 to 50% of the total MSRP. So I can look at it this way: if I sell 3 copies, I will break even, and that for me, to support an indie publisher, to sell 3 copies of a $15 game is not too difficult to do. So for something like that, I'm pretty like certain I'm happy to do that because I can try it out. If it sells well, then I can order more copies and I can continue to provide this game to my community. Um, and if it doesn't do well, if I don't sell any copies, well, I'm out all the money, but that's okay because it was not a very expensive game. Um, but I'm certain like this game, it looks like a really fun game. It's a party game. I think it'll sell 3 copies, so I'm pretty confident about that one. I'm actually fairly confident about all the games I have here, because otherwise I would not be supporting them. But on the other hand, so something to talk about on the other hand, I'm gonna pull up this one. So this is actually a really cool game too, and we'll be hosting a learn to play session of this. This is what I really liked about this publisher. They were very understanding as far as what our goal and objective is as a game store, and really want to encourage people to support the game store. So this one is a huge game. So this is the other extreme. Look how big that is. It has, I think it says over 1,000 pieces. Um, it's a space battle game called Over Battle. So this game, how much is the MSRP? I forgot. 159. So that is a pretty expensive game for us, and especially as a new store when our total inventory is not as large as other stores when we're new. So if we went, if we purchase a lot of copies of this, it takes up a big chunk of our inventory, and also says that we have to sell X number of copies to break even. So we were able to pick up 2 copies, which is still kind of a lot for us to have 2 copies of a big game like that. Um, we tend to not do more than 2 copies of bigger games like that at this point in time, unless we know there will be a demand for it in our store. So with that one, really what was awesome and really helped us out too, one, um, they coordinated with us to make sure we were comfortable with we were both comfortable with working out what we wanted to do with the game and how we carried it in our store. They understood that we were a newer store, and also they're really good at pushing for hosting an event with the game in the store, which is huge because then it gives opportunity for players in our community to learn the game and potentially want to bring the game home for themselves. All right. So those are kind of the 2 extremes. And that was my second point, a very long second point about indie publishers is the idea of um, how much risk is involved with supporting an indie publisher and why we do it to, um, I guess, and maybe I didn't answer why we did it. So, well, one is to support them kind of in a selfless way, but there's also a selfish way for us because there are those indie publishers that have those hits that are really awesome games, and they break the, what do we call it, the zeitgeist, and everybody's talking about, everybody has it, um Exploding Kittens, right? That was an indie publisher. I believe that was their first game published and just like blew up. I guess it was helpful that it had an artist that a lot of people recognized. And it did, I believe, was on Kickstarter first. I'd have to double check. There's a board game documentary about it. Um, But that's more on the selfish reason for us. We of course want to make money. We're in business, so we want to support games that do well too. So we're rooting for those indie publishers, but also um, hoping it helps us in the long run too. All right, so that those are two of the games. So now the other games, I'm just gonna kind of share, and those are two reasons. The other games, I'm just gonna kind of share the story of how we got or how we learned about their games and why we continue to carry them or why we carried them in the first place, and for those specific examples. So talked about that one. This one. So I'm hesitant to say this, but what goes a long way is reaching out to me personally. That is helpful because there's so many games out there, there's so many publishers out there, and I'm not familiar with all of them. Just because you reach out to me doesn't mean I'm going to say yes, so keep that in mind. But this publisher, they reached out to us. Again, this is not a high risk game for us because it's not a very expensive retail price. But this and their other two games really fit with our business model, and that is the positive aspects of tabletop games. And this game is an icebreaker, and it has a little clever like gimmick. It's like not anything earth breaking and very new, but you use this glass to kind of keep track of score, and I thought that was a really clever way to keep people involved in the game as an icebreaker. And then they have two other games that are like Go Fish, but they're tongue twister Go Fish. So I think that's super awesome because of my background as an English language teacher. It's like, oh yeah, that's perfect for practicing pronunciation and uh, speech. So and they're from I believe Israel. They're not an American publisher. Um, Next up is so I apologize. We don't have the new edition, but we have Rainbow Rabbits or Rainbow Bunny Bop is the new edition. Um, so uh, we started carrying this. I want to say last Easter. Really great game for Easter, but also really great game for younger players. And at the time, and even now, it like is a good staple for this age group for us. We have this and a couple other games that I recommend for this age group, and it's a speed game, placing your rabbits down in the order of the rainbow. So that is Rainbow Rabbits or Rainbow Bunny Bop. Rainbow Bunny Bop is the new printing. Um, So this is another one we recommend in the same category. You Wish. So again, low risk for us, both those because they're a lower price point. This is like Go Fish and Uno. Again, reached out to me personally, uh, and that's what a lot of publishers do. Go talk to game store owners because game store owners a lot of times want to support you, but it has to work with their business model. It really does. And again, at the time, it fit. It was about the same time as Rainbow Bunny Bop, and they fit a category that we were kind of missing at the time. So we're pretty filled out on age groups and experience board game experiences. We pretty much cover the whole spectrum now. Next up, let's talk about spearmints or swearmints. Spearmints is the mint. Oh man, so swearmints. This is a party game where you make up your own slang. I have not had a chance to play this. We do have two copies in our library. One, this is the Safe for Work edition, and then there's the Not Safe for Work edition, NSFW. Um, and I need to try it because it has been doing well ever since we got it. I think we got these in like about a week and a half ago. We've already sold 25% of our inventory with it. And how I found this publisher, I can't remember if they reached out to me or if I reached out to them on TikTok. You'll have to correct me. Oh man, I don't remember. Um, Swearmints. We have another publisher, Seppi, is on TikTok too. Um, I can't show you the. I'm looking over here because he also provides a what do we call it in retail? RMU, I think it's called, but it's just a fancy word for a display case. So he has like a wooden display case to hold his games in, which I've only been in the physical retail space for a month now. We've been online for about 2 years, so I can't speak to how those work, but I know that they are appealing to customers. I've done a lot of research when it comes to merchandising and displaying product in your store. Um, so I know those things do help or work. I have not had experience firsthand to tell you whether it does, but the fact that Seppi, oh, what's his publisher's name? Fight in a Box, I think it's called Fight in a Box. Yeah, Fight in a Box. He provides that for you if you order a certain number of copies, and that was, I think, a really cool offering for him as a publisher and for any other indie publishers to do. Um, okay, and then I'm going to talk about two that are kind of similar as far as how we found them. Oh, they're there. So we started online, and we started as a game online board game store that sold games that were for learning specifically. And then now obviously we pivoted a little bit and we're kind of like a general gaming store with that angle to it. We still have a lot of games for learning, and this was one cryptocurrency and this company called Capital Gains Studio. They're from Singapore. They make all games based on economics. So they have this one. They have Wonga Mania, which is about the economic cycle. Which actually I need to make a TikTok video about it because it really displays how we go from a stagnant economy to recession, or recession and stagnant. I can't remember. See, I need to play the game. Um, they also have another game called Dirty Money or Dirty Money. It's about money laundering, and another game called Zombie Life Insurance. It's about life insurance, which sounds like a really boring game, but they're able to really spice it up with zombies. So similar, also another company from from Singapore, Rainforest City. Um, again, they are. This one's more kind of family focused, and it does have some like math components to it for learning. Uh, why we wanted to carry it because it has that component to it, and then again, it's a company from Singapore. We want we've met both these companies when we lived in Taiwan, so we're really happy to support those companies too. And then I want to talk about. So again, I don't know what qualifies as an indie publisher. So if either of these publishers, they're a little bit bigger than the other ones that I've talked about because they've published more than a handful of games. But these are two publishers that we have, Grand Gamers Guild and Grandpa Beck Games. Um, they make Grandpa Beck Games make some really great evergreen titles. That's why we decided to carry their whole line about 4 or 5 months ago, just before the holidays, I think. Um, so we know that their titles will sell. They're evergreen titles. They continue to sell, is what an evergreen title is. And then Grand Gamers Guild, another, I don't know if we'd say compared to these publishers, medium sized, but definitely compared to like other publishers out there, there's a lot of bigger publishers. So, um, but they have a lot of staples too, and games that are talked a lot about in online gaming communities. So we wanted to be sure to stock their games as well. All right, so that's all the games that I had pulled out. So again, every Friday we go live. We talk about some updates in the store. Talk about some recent products we got in, some recent products we're expecting, and I share a topic for the day. If you have a topic suggestion, leave a comment, and we will see you next week. Before I go, one more thing. Our video cast is coming out. So if you want to be a guest on our video cast, these are pre-recorded episodes. Send me a message and we'll make it happen. So we'll see you next week.